The views on this program do not reflect those of ONTV or its board of directors. Welcome to OAA Now, your home for Oakland Activities Association news and information. Here's your host, Sammy Taormina.
Welcome to OAA Now. Here I'm Sammy Taormina, blogger of Across the OAA, and one of the hosts of Taorminas, and one of the hosts of Last Three Brain Cells on Orion Neighborhood Television. I got here Ian this week here. Beautiful sunny day.
Oh, what a Monday. Is this the last hurrah, Sammy?
I think it is.
64 degrees, sunny all day, and then it starts getting chilly for us, but beautiful day.
Mm-hmm.
Get outside. Enjoy this weather.
Much beautiful day.
Yeah, and we're hoping this weather holds on for the big games
for the big game coming up. Yes, over at we're going to talk a lot about that. We're also going to bring up some volleyball this week. We're going to also bring up some cross country at the state meet this weekend.
Yes, the weather gods got together and said these kids deserve a break.
Yes, they do.
For a lot of reasons. No rain, no nothing. It was nice. So.
And also some breaking news on the girls' basketball front. We'll talk about that as well. So, Ian, we're going to kick off the show with the OA Roundup. Of course, a lot to break down, especially with everything that's went on.
A lot of results, a lot of things to chit-chat about. Okay, so Roundup. All right. Teams are being whittled down one by one in football, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we had a huge game, Adams versus Oxford last Friday, and it was Adams 42-7 over the Wildcats. Sammy shakes his head. We both thought it'd be closer than this, and we'll break this game down a little bit.
Yeah.
But yes, it was 42-7. Adams remains undefeated, still rolling through the playoffs, just like did the regular season. Unbelievable. Adams Parker Pico had 3 rushing touchdowns, 30-yard passing TD to Joey Shallow, and Griffin Henke and Nick Patera each had a running touchdown each. For Oxford, Brady Carpenter had a 35-yard touchdown pass to Trent Meyer. Unbelievable game. Stunner in a way, but
very stunning.
Adams on a mission.
Mm-hmm.
West Bloomfield met up with Detroit CC in the swamp, and West Bloomfield comes through on top, 35-21. West Bloomfield's Dylan Tatum, 3 rushing touchdowns. What can you say?
He's actually going for that Michigan Mr. Football Award, very similar to what Donovan Edwards did last year.
Yeah, I think he'll be a finalist.
He'll be a finalist for sure.
Raekwon Nance, 28-yard TD pass to D'Angelo Thomas. And Kenneth Jones, a 4-yard rushing touchdown for the Lakers.
I'm high on Kenneth Jones. Really high on this guy.
Yeah, and the performance, and they cleaned up the penalties.
Yes, they
did. We'll probably talk about that, too. So, from a week ago.
Mm-hmm.
All right, some volleyball district finals. Volleyball's kind of flown under the radar on this show, and we always like to try to get some of these results in, as Sammy and I are both OAA volleyball fans. But here we are, the district finals. Novi 3-0 over North Farmington.
Yep, I remember that one when they stunned West Bloomfield. North Farmington did in the district semis.
That's right. Stony Creek 3-0 over Utica Eisenhower. Stony Creek still alive.
Yeah.
Berkeley 3-0 over Detroit Renaissance. Good victory there.
Mm-hmm.
Lake Orion 3-0 over Avondale.
Yep.
Troy 3-2 over Troy Athens.
That game was a classic.
That went into the final frame in 15-13, right?
Yeah, in the 5th set. Yep.
Amazing. Lakeland 3-1 over Clarkston. The Wolves fall.
We got to break that one down. I mean, I knew Clarkston was a little bit on the edge, but I didn't think that would be the outcome there.
And Detroit Country Day 3-0 over Ferndale. Ferndale falls.
That
Their
was not
season
surprising.
Is over.
Yep.
All right, now, so here are your volleyball regional matchups. At Livonia Churchill, Berkeley Fordson, Grosse Pointe South, and Robichaud.
Mm-hmm.
At Novi, you have Lake Orion, Lakeland going head-to-head.
Yep.
And Novi against Birmingham Marion. Is that a loaded regional?
That is a brutal regional.
I mean, how many state titles are sitting inside that?
There is a lot of state titles
and state finals.
State finals appearances.
Yeah, that is a brutal regional.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one is, what does that say?
Chippewa Valley.
Chippewa Valley. Stony Creek versus Dakota. That should be a good one.
It should be.
And Troy against Utica Ford.
Should be really interesting.
Those are your matchups in the regionals. Those are the results of the football and volleyball districts. That's the roundup. All right.
All right, let's break football down first. I mean, like, obviously, wow.
That was me. Burst of music.
Mm-hmm.
So that's about how surprised I was about that Adams-Oxford game.
Well, here's the thing. With Adams, you know the midline veer. You know the veer offense they run.
Yes, we talk about it all the time.
It is if you're an opponent, it is really difficult to replicate it in practice. It is really, really difficult to replicate it because you got to know every single form of veer there is. You got to know outside veer. You got to know midline veer. You got to know outside veer. Now, what Adams did in that game against Oxford was kill them with the outside veer, which is basically
they couldn't contain it.
Couldn't contain it. You know, it's a really hard offense to contain. And you look at and Adams, truly in the entire league this year, is the only team. Seaholm, you can say they do run some sort of veer as well, but not to the degree that Adams runs. Adams runs it to perfection.
Yes.
And
they have been
for a while. Ever since Tony Pacino got there back in 2002. And that was the year Adams won their state title back in 2002.
Yeah.
So when you really look at with Adams, you know, the veer has been a huge, huge implement to their program. And, you know, and you got to and this is the team that to do it with. And it counteracts depth. You know, it counteracts depth when you see all these bigger teams.
Yeah.
You know, in Adams, you have a really small team. The veer usually counteracts depth because it's a time possession offense. What it is.
And with the way Adams has run their offense, run the program, I mean, they have an identity.
Yes, they do.
They, of all the, you know, all the teams, in my opinion, in the OAA, that team has the most solidified identity. You know what you're getting.
Yep.
You know what you're getting year in, year out. Is it successful some years? Does it limp along a couple of years? But you know what you are getting. It's almost like Bud Raleigh, the old Bud Raleigh teams. You know what you're getting. We're running it down your throat.
Right.
We're coming at you. We're going body on body, and we're going to go at you. Right?
With the veer, it's such an illusion offense. You know, it's an illusion offense, basically, because there's like one play you're like, you don't know if you're like, I mean, and then like few plays later, I mean, few seconds later, they're like about 10 yards. You know, and that's what the veer does. You know what I mean? If you're basically going like, you know, the quarterback has so many options. You know what I mean? In the veer, you can either dive it. He can run zone read option off it. He can even do. There's so many ways he can run that offense. You know what I mean? Throughout the veer. You know, and it's an illusion offense.
It is,
and it's really hard for a defense to prepare.
And when you have a team that is clicking on all cylinders like Adams has been all season. And we can even go back to last year, right? Mm-hmm. It's almost like Stony Creek of, 3 years ago. We knew it was coming.
Yeah, we knew it was coming with Stony Creek, but Adams has been just...
But Adams is, with this offense and the way they've last year even, the strength they had, it's like, here we go. We know what we're getting. And it's finally gone. It's 100%. It's just clicking. And
it's clicking.
People are having a hard time with it.
I know people are having a hard time.
They're making them look silly sometimes.
They're making them look like silly sometimes. I mean, like, obviously, when you're running that offense, it's an illusion offense. You know, you look at, obviously, and this is not a surprise with Adams, because they're the only team in the league that really runs this type of offense. They can run all sorts of veer from this offense. I mean, like, and you look at, obviously, because it's and especially against a team like Oxford, you know, who is coming in red hot.
Oh,
beat some real legit teams there, and to hold that team to 7 points defensively, that's a huge credit to Adams' defensive coaching staff. I mean, like,
offense is one thing, but you're right, to shut down that Oxford to 7.
An experienced team. I mean, I know in the combined meetings between Adams and Oxford was 66-17 this year.
Wow.
That was your combined score. And you look at what they did, and especially against a NFL-type style offense that Oxford runs, to shut down Salvacaro, who had a heck of a game against Clarkston
Oh,
the
yeah.
week prior.
Legendary
Performance against Clarkston, and then they shut him down. And then you look at shutting down Brady Carpenter. They shut down Alec Brown. They shut down the offense. I mean, like, they had their way with Oxford in this game.
Yes, they did. And to tag them for 42. So
And they had running clock on them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you tag 42, you're going to have that clock rolling. And they shortened the game. And that was what we were talking about, too. Both teams running the ball.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be a shorter game anyway.
Right.
So now you have a running clock and no way out of that hole. And it was an awesome performance by Adams.
Real good performance by Adams.
And it's also one of these things, too, where it's like teams that know each other, right?
Mm-hmm. And they know each other.
And they know
Play
each other.
too.
They know each other very well, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, just like going into West Bloomfield, they know each other. The
Mhm.
next opponent, which we'll
Yep.
talk about in a sec, but they know each other, so you can scheme
Mm-hmm.
to a known opponent, right?
Right,
So it's not
right.
like Rockford's rolling over, or you're getting
Or
somebody
Grand Blanc, you know
Grand
what I mean?
Blanc or Eastland or whatever,
Mhm.
right? It's some team that you don't play all the time. You have people watching these games all the time. You know each other.
Mm-hmm.
And Adams did a great job of adjusting, especially on that defense side of the ball.
Yeah, they shut down Oxford.
and
You
shut
know?
them down.
And Oxford loses so much next year.
Yeah.
They lose so much. You know, they lose Carpenter, they lose Vaccaro, they lose. The only one that's truly back on that team next year is Tate Mir.
Mm.
So that'll be something to keep a real close eye on.
Yeah, it's almost like, Oxford was running so hard for so long, in a sudden death playoff situation just to get into the playoffs that
Mhm.
maybe they just ran out of gas.
And they beat some good teams.
They did to get in
Mhm.
and to keep that win streak alive to get to Adams. But I think maybe just the gas tank. They're run on fumes and they just.
Maybe.
That can get you. You
can.
go one and done, and
It can absolutely can.
they've been in a one and done situation for the last 4 weeks.
I know.
Or 5 weeks or
that's
whatever.
5
it's
or
been.
6 weeks. You know what I mean? They've been in that situation.
Yeah.
And then you look at obviously the other game, West Bloomfield Nova Detroit Catholic Central.
So yeah.
It went back and forth. That game went back and forth. But West Bloomfield got a huge touchdown. They scored 28 in the second quarter. That was the difference in that game.
Wow.
The big play I thought was Raekwon Nance's touchdown to D'Angelo Thomas. That was a huge play. Dylan Tatum, of course, had a really nice game. 3 touchdowns. Most of them from the Wildcat position.
Mm.
And then Kenneth Jones. I thought, I think he's having a breakout postseason. Obviously, a lot of people look at West Bloomfield and say, okay, a lot of people were concerned about this team when it came to penalties. Because when I was at the game
Yes.
against Novi,
They had
they had way too many penalties in that game.
So I heard it was like 20.
Mm-hmm.
20 penalties.
Yep.
And that's astounding,
Mm-hmm.
especially for a championship, battle-tested,
Program.
experienced
Yep.
program, and to have 20
Penalties.
penalties.
That
That's
was against
insane.
Novi, yeah. And then they cleaned it up against Novi Detroit Catholic Central.
Oh, you had to.
They had some,
If-
but not to the extent like they did against Novi.
You're always going to have some sort of penalties, right?
Mhm.
But not like the ones you were talking about. It was like personal foul here or whatever.
Or
after the
sportsmanlike conduct.
sportsmanlike after the plays over stuff. You're shaking your head. But that's the stuff that kills you. Those are drive
Absolutely.
killers. They're
Those are drive killers.
They're drive killers and they're playoff run killers
Mhm.
if you don't watch yourself. And they got it under control.
Right. And now
And
they against
took
a
care of
good
business.
Novi Detroit Catholic Central team who beat Davison earlier in the year.
Yeah.
I know they have the L-boy mantra. You know what I mean? The L-boy mentality. That is their nickname, the L-boys.
Okay.
Well, when you look at that game, obviously the defense did just enough against the Shamrocks, to move on. The offense did just enough. West Bloomfield, if they stay mistake-free, penalty-free, there's no reason why this team shouldn't have a deep postseason run.
Yeah.
Or get back to the state final. You really look at West Bloomfield, the championship pedigree. They had that. They've had that championship pedigree and basically using it to their perfection. Dylan Tatum's basically playing the role of Donovan Edwards right now.
Yeah.
Kenneth Jones basically playing the role of Dylan Tatum right now. You got Samaj Morgan to the outside. You got D'Angelo Thomas on the other side. You got Raekwon Nance at quarterback. I mean, like
The talent.
and then the defense, Michael
Yeah.
Williams at the defensive end spot. I mean, like Brandon Davis Swan. You got Amir Herring. I mean, like
Yeah, names. Yes.
I mean, like it's crazy.
Yeah.
With what Coach Therese Grice has over there at West Bloomfield, real crazy.
Yeah. And they tightened it
They
up.
tighten it up. They clean it up. They clean up the disciplines. They
Yes.
clean up their penalties. I mean, it's a big win for West Bloomfield to knock off Novi Detroit Catholic Central like that. It certainly guarantees an OAA school being the state semifinals.
Yes.
I mean, like for Division I. I mean,
Yep.
like it virtually guarantees it. You know, on the other side, you got Sterling Heights Stevenson taking on Macomb, Dakota. I mean, that was a huge shock what they did to Romeo. You got Belleville and Dearborn Fortson on the other side, and then you have Grand Blanc and Rockford await the winner of Rochester Adams and West Bloomfield.
Wow.
I mean,
And those are. There's no gimmies, man. No gimmies.
no, but to West Bloomfield's case, you know, experience matters. You know what I mean?
Oh, yes, it does.
Experience matters. I mean, like, and you know what they did against a very proud Novi Detroit Catholic Central team. They just beat them up front. They just beat them.
Yeah.
You know,
They were the Lakers we know,
they were the Lakers we know.
Right.
The
ones you expect, the ones you
I
know.
expected, the ones I know. I mean, like, can they be a little kooky a little bit? Sure, but you know what? But they did everything.
Yeah.
They took care of business. They have a district mitten, and now they get to go into the regional final, which is we're going to preview that game, and I think that's going to be real shortly here. I mean, like, because these are the two OA teams. This is virtually the OA championship game.
It is. It
The
is.
red champion versus the white champion,
And it's a
rematch.
rematch. How awesome can this be?
After a week 1, 35-17, Adams win in the Swamp. They met Parker Pico, who had a explosive game in that game. Brady Prescorn had a touchdown in that game as well. I mean, like, it was a stunning upset when Adams
Rematch.
and West Bloomfield
Don't
played.
you think West Bloomfield is chopping at the bit to repay the favor at
Adams.
Rochester Adams Field?
Yes.
Oh, you
gotta be.
this has got the storylines, man. This
There's
is
a ton of storylines coming in this
is-
game. Ton of storylines.
you couldn't have asked for a better pairing.
Yeah.
These two going together, one trying to repeat as a state champion, one's trying to stay undefeated and get there for the first time. What'd you say, 2002?
First time since 2000. No, they made the Division I state semis back in 05. I remember that.
But try to get to the finals, try to get to Ford Field. It's been a while.
It's been a long while for Adams.
Right? And they all season, and you go undefeated, and you're taking care of people. Just flummoxing them with that veer offense. And now here you go, West Bloomfield going, okay, you got us week 1. It makes sense that we'd have a hard time with that week 1, but we've had all season.
We've had all season. We want to
to
get you back.
figure it out.
We've had all season to figure it out. You know, if you're West Bloomfield,
Oh, man.
I'm
getting hyped up for this game already.
This is the matchup you want because here's what it's a great matchup of two different styles. I mean, West Bloomfield runs the RPO, Adams with the veer. I mean, like it's basically, I mean, both teams got really good quarterbacks. I mean, West Bloomfield, Raekwon Nance, Adams, Parker Pico.
Yes.
I mean, both got good running games. I mean, Dylan Tatum, you got Griffin Hankey on the other side. Both teams got great wide receivers, Samaj Morgan, Brady Prescorn, Joey Sal on the other side. I mean,
So
this is everything got written over.
Oh, it does. And the name recognition. So it's like you have, I don't know how to explain it. Like,
That's not talking Marco DeSers either.
no. But with West Bloomfield, it's like they have been the Cadillac, man. I mean,
Right.
they're the Porsche. They got the names. They got these Division I guys. They are loaded with athletes that everybody across the state knows their name.
Yep.
Even in the Midwest, they
Yep.
know these guys'
They know
names.
these guys, yes.
They're recruited nationally,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right, and then here's Adams.
And then here's Adams just
Parker Pico,
pounding.
Parker Pico, the baseball commit going to Alabama, and he's only a junior.
athletes, right? But it's like, I don't want to say under the radar,
Mm-hmm.
but but that happens when you win a state title,
Right, when you win
right?
the town.
You win a state title, people know who you are. They know
Yep.
it gets out.
Mm-hmm.
Adams is one of those teams that you go, okay, fine. We know what you got. You got the pedigree. You have the hardware. You've got the names.
And we beat you week 1.
And we beat you.
In the swamp.
Yes. On the road. Yes.
Mm-hmm. It was in the swamp. They beat you.
And I remember week 1 when we were talking about that game going, whoa.
Mm-hmm.
What was that all about?
Well, I had Adams ranked number 2 to start the year in the football preview show. And I had West Bloom at number 1 because I knew how good Adams was.
Yes.
Especially when you look at the experience they had coming back with the veer and everything.
But still, week 1 going in there and taking care of business.
Care of business
wow.
in the swamp. That's huge.
And that set the table for the rest of Adams' season.
Yes,
I mean,
they haven't lost since.
Rolling.
And then you look at West Bloomfield. They haven't lost since that game.
I know.
You know?
Something's got to give.
Something's got to give. I mean, coaching matchups interesting between Therese Grice and Tony Petrito. I am very curious to see how this game's going to pan out.
But me too. I mean, we could talk about this game for the rest of the show. I mean, this is one of those.
You break it down.
Oh, man. This is one of those games that you just look at and go, oh. You know, if you're a football fan, high school football fan, this is the one you want to see. Mm-hmm. This is the one that's been up all season to go see.
This is the game.
And if you can get there, go.
Yep.
I'm hoping it's streamed. Adams is a tough place to get a live game out of. It's a pain. We've tried. Mm-hmm. It's the press box is so teeny and seating and stuff. It's kind of a pain in the neck.
Even with the new refurbished press box.
Yes, it's so small. Mm-hmm. It is really small. I mean, it's for what the needs that they have, but for media, it's just difficult.
It's brutal.
Tough angles, tough sight lines for cameras and such.
Mm-hmm.
But this has to be televised. I mean, I would say if
Valley Sports Detroit does not get this game, something's wrong.
I was just saying that. I go, this is the game that needs to be on.
This is the game that needs to be on Valley Sports Detroit because this is a rematch of a 35-17 game. It's got every storyline.
Defending state champion.
Defending state
trying
champions,
to stay alive.
Trying to stay alive against Sevier. That's the storyline. You know? And then the winner of this is going to either take on Rockford or Grand Blanc. I will tell you what. I think when I'm looking at this matchup here, I think people are going to, and I'm going to be a bold guy here.
You're always bold. You always take the
I think
sideways.
Adams and West Bloomfield are better than Grand Blanc and Rockford, respectively.
Ooh.
Rockford, we know, has had a really nice year. They got a Mr. Football candidate in their quarterback. Grand Blanc's got a good running back in Elijah Davis Anderson. Both these teams are very, very, very deep teams. Both these teams are very deep. So when you look at it here, let's say hypothetically, it's Adams and it's Adams against like a Rockford or Grand Blanc.
Yeah.
You know that Veer will take care of a lot of depth problems.
Yes.
And if it's West Bloomfield's got championship pedigree experience. So
you think the OAA is solid regardless of what the outcome of that game is?
I think they're going to be solid. I think when you look at it here, I think they got a great chance to get the state title game. I really think whoever wins that game has got a great chance to get the state title game. I'm not sold on Grand Blanc. I'm not sold on Rockford. Neither team. I am not sold on. So when I look at the matchup here, and then on the other side you have Belleville Fordson and Macomb Dakota versus Sterling Heights Stevenson.
Yeah.
Mac Red team's going to be on the other side. And then on the other side, an OA school is going to be taking on either a Saginaw Valley opponent or a Ottawa Kent opponent.
Yeah.
So it'd be very interesting to see what happens. Even with the build-up and the hype of West Bloomfield, Adams for us is great. Mm-hmm.
A matchup with those teams, whoever comes out of this side, we have some good teams, a lot of historically good teams just waiting in the wings to try to make their way to Ford Field. And I'm excited. It's when I heard West Bloomfield won and like, ooh boy, this is the game.
This is the game.
It's the
rematch. It's the rematch.
Yeah. Yeah, this is one of those, and I hope it lives up to
I hope so too.
The build up that we're giving it, because this could be a ton of fun. And the Highlanders are just hungry, man. I mean, aren't they hungry?
The Veer against the L-Boys.
But I mean,
the Gold Rush against the L-Boys.
But look at the fan base and the kids and the whole community. I mean, Adams it's like this is the natural progression, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've been waiting for something like this for them to break out.
Well,
Can they do it?
They've always had that. It comes down to player personnel for them.
Yes.
They've always had that. West Bloomfield, we know what they have. Adams, we know what they have. It's the matchup that we've been looking at. The Veer offense against the RPO. The Raekwon Nance versus Parker Pico. Dylan Tatum versus Griffin Hankey. Samaj Morgan and Michael Thomas against Brady Prescourt and Joey Shallow. Comes down the line play. You got
absolutely.
You got Hassan Murray against Amir Herring. You know what I mean? Great individual matchups in this game.
Yeah. There's so many, like we were mentioning, like
and Marco Sears versus
storylines and the one-on-ones. It's like when I call soccer matches and things, you know, if people don't know soccer, you just watch and it's like, hey, there's stuff going on and you're just, you know, cheering on your team. Inside the game, there's all these different little battles going on, right? I mean, you got individual players going head to head. Same thing here.
Mm-hmm.
That people just watch the general, oh, it's a big play or whatever. But the fun part about what this game is going to be, and football in general, for my opinion, is I love watching those individual battles because it's amazing how one or two plays by individuals can change the scope of a game in an instant, right? And we've got, like you said, the names you just rattle off. I go, those are all the guys. And when they come together as a unit, then we get a classic, right?
And I expect this game will be a classic.
Oh, I'm hoping it's a classic.
I'm hoping that, too. We'll see what happens.
Absolutely. The question is scoring.
Yeah.
Good defense on both sides.
Good defense on both sides. We don't know what the weather's going to be looking like. It could be really cold.
Yes.
I mean, the wind could be an issue.
Yep.
Yeah. Especially if you're a RPO offense like West Bloomfield is. Adams, you really don't need to throw it a lot because you know what the Veer does. It's more of a running offense.
Yep. They're playing on artificial surfaces, so if it's raining and stuff, you know, that usually is nullified a little bit. Might be a little slippery. If it's dry, all the better.
Yep.
I'm hoping for a 64-degree sunny day to lead into that game. That'd be awesome.
I don't think it'll happen though. I really don't.
Hey, I'm trying to be what do you call it? Think forward, think positive.
Think
right?
positive. Yes. Let's go now from football a little bit. I want to talk a little volleyball. I mean,
yes.
We haven't talked volleyball all season long.
No.
I think this is going to be really. We're at the regional rounds for volleyball. The district finals obviously have concluded. A couple of surprises, obviously. The districts were probably what I thought it would be. Probably the biggest upset for me would be Lakeland beating Clarkston.
Yeah.
And I knew
we're so used to seeing Clarkson so deep into the
postseason.
Yeah, postseason.
You know, a lot of things. You know, you look at Lake Orion and Clarkson, have always been in the same district. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, but when you look at Clarkston losing to Lakeland, Clarkson this year has been a team living on the edge. I mean, I know they had a new coach in Allison Smith this year. But they're a team that was living on the edge. They went 5 with Lake Orion, 5 with Stony Creek. They went 5 with Troy. I mean, they just couldn't find a way to figure things out, you know, in that game against Lakeland. Now Lakeland had home court.
Yeah,
that's what matters here. I mean, I know having home court is very vital in a district or regional setting. And I really think, you know, that was an important factor. When you look at Lakeland's wins this year, most of them were on their home court. They won the Lakes Valley tournament on their home court. They won a district tournament on their home court. Now they get to go on the road to a Novi and take on a Lake Orion team that's just been almost like, I'm not saying this is a flawless team. They're not a flawless team, but Lake Orion's had some lumps. They played a tough schedule. I mean, Lake Orion's got a very good star player, Nina Horning. I mean, and when you look at Lakeland, you know, they're a scrappy team. They're very scrappy. I mean, so when you look at Lakeland, you know, how they did this to Clarkson, which is insane. I'm curious to see how they do this against Lake Orion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? On the road at Novi. I think Lake Orion's more battle tested than Lakeland, but you never know.
Yeah.
So, and then
Yeah, the playoffs don't. The postseason does not rattle Lake Orion.
no.
They've been in the postseason deep runs.
Well, they lost in the
Number of
districts
years.
last year to Clarkston.
Yeah.
I mean, but
They've played. That goes back to your mantra of you play tough opponents. It seasons you.
mm-hmm.
OA Red
That seasons you.
seasons you. The tournaments they play, the
Seasons
quality
you,
of
yep.
opponents they
Mhm.
play all the time. It seasons you.
And everybody looks at a team like Birmingham Marion, and
Mhm.
you look. Yes, they're legit this year. I've watched the State Chance W podcast on Birmingham Marion. I know they have an assistant coach who's on that podcast, in Vince Muscat. I know they have some very good players. So when you look at this matchup with Novi brewing for them, I think this has got upset trap written all over it for them. I really do. Taking on Novi, the host school, you know you're going to have a raucous crowd there. So if you're Birmingham Marion, this has 2011 written all over for me with Birmingham Marion. This has 2011. When overwhelming favorite goes into an opponent's home gym and
stumbles.
yeah. That's what happens. And when I'm looking at it here, I think that could happen here at that regional Novi.
But that region is
It's
stacked.
brutal. It's stacked. I mean, like, if you would have imagined if Clarkson would have been there instead of Lakeland,
yeah,
oh,
I
boy.
know.
I mean, Lake Orion, Clarkson, and then Novi, Marion. I mean, like,
Yeah.
but now you have Lakeland.
If you're a
here.
fan of volleyball, that's the one to go
That's
to.
the regional to go to. Obviously, you got the two other regionals around the OA schools that cover. The one at Livonia at Churchill, obviously, with Berkeley taking on Dearborn Fortson.
Yeah.
With that winner taking on Grosse Pointe South and Dearborn Heights Robichaud. I wrote a column on it with Berkeley. I think Berkeley's a team that needs to make that next step. They have knocked off Detroit Renaissance twice now. Second straight year they knocked off the Phoenix. And you look at Berkeley, you know, this is a program that has been making their way up the pedestal. If they can have either a strong showing in the regional final or even win it, I think that regional looks winnable for Berkeley, even though you got Grosse Pointe South and Dearborn Heights Robichaud there. Both of them are really good teams. I think Berkeley could make some headwaves and possibly make a state quarterfinal appearance. I've said that about this team. They have a shot to do it. If Berkeley can somehow at least show a strong showing, because if they lose in the state semifinals to Dearborn Fortson, I would cause, maybe a little bit of a disappointment.
Really?
Because I think if they want to make that next stride as a program, you win a regional game, get the regional final.
Yeah.
Because that regional looks very winnable. The two other regionals.
It's not Novi.
It's not Novi. It is not Chippewa Valley.
No.
But I'm just saying to you, is that region looks winnable. It looks winnable.
Yeah.
I mean, and then you look at Chippewa Valley, you got Stony Creek taking on Macomb, Dakota.
That should be entertaining.
That should be very interesting because Stony Creek's had a miserable season in the red. Just miserable. I mean, everybody was beating them left and right. And then they started to play their best volleyball once the districts came. They knocked off Rochester. They knocked off Port Huron Northern. And then they knocked off Utica Eisenhower.
And we've seen teams from the red do that.
Uh-huh.
You have mediocre regular season, and all of a sudden, something clicks.
Something clicks. And then you look at, and Stony Creek won that one. That was on their home court. But the team that's probably the most oddest one who's in there is Troy.
Yeah.
Because they had a classic with Troy Athens that
man.
That
went the distance.
It went the distance.
It couldn't go any further.
At Athens. It was at Athens. You know how Troy and Troy Athens, that rivalry is.
Huge.
Troy's Twitter page calls Troy Athens that school down the road.
I've heard that before.
Yeah, you've heard that before. I mean, it's not like Michigan State, you know what I mean? But Troy Athens is a pretty healthy rivalry.
Oh, yes, it is.
I mean, mean, you look at Troy's path. They knocked off Groves. They had to beat Warren Mott, and then they beat Troy Athens. That was if that's not competence, for Coach Vigilant. I mean, like I think for Troy, for Troy, it's making that next step. Because the reason why I say this for Troy is because when you really look at Troy, I mean, they have not made it past the regional semifinals. I mean, they made it to the regional final. They've not made it out of the regionals. If they want to make that next step as a program, they have to win that regional.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I see that happening, especially because you have Stony Creek and Macomb Dakota. Macomb Dakota is a really good team. They just knocked off a state powerhouse, New Baltimore Inca Bay, in the district semifinals.
Yes.
I mean, you really look at that match with Stony Creek. It could go 3, it could go 4, maybe the distance. I mean, to me, that district of Chippewa Valley looks like it's Macomb Dakota's to lose. Because I think when you look at the teams that are coming in there, Macomb Dakota probably has the best chance to get to state quarterfinals out of that district.
No, I agree. It's one of those. You know what you're getting with Dakota, man.
Mm-hmm.
They've been there. They're tough.
Been there, tough.
And we've seen a lot of OAA schools play Dakota in tournaments, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that you want to, it's over there on the east side.
Yeah.
And you want to sample a little of that so you know what you're getting into.
That's what you know. You're
right? These coaches know what they're doing.
Oh, absolutely. They know
right?
what they're doing.
Especially the top-tier teams that have been making those runs to the playoffs year after year after year.
Mm-hmm.
Or challenging for league titles here in the OAA.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, Dakota it's one of those names when you see it on the ledger, you're like, ugh.
Mm-hmm.
We better be ready because they can hand it to you quick.
Absolutely.
And it can be over fast if you're not
Absolutely, they can
you're
hand
not
it
careful.
to you. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm thinking when you look at Macomb Dakota and you're, and I think that's going to be really interesting to see what happens there.
Yeah.
Really interesting. And then you look at obviously we talked Livonia Clarenceville, Livonia Churchill, obviously with Berkeley.
Yeah.
And then of course there's Novi. And you look at that regional. Oh, how do you explain?
I mean, it is a murderer's row. I mean, it is brutal.
It is murderer's row.
And but look at the teams that are in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Teams that are seasoned, they are established programs. They have a lot of hardware, in their gymnasiums from winning league titles, districts, regionals, state, right? I mean, these teams and these coaches know what they're getting into.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, this is the stiffest competition of all the regions.
Absolutely.
And I think anybody who comes out of that one
has a great shot to win the state title.
Great shot. Really nice chance.
I'm looking at this one here. You got Lake Orion versus Lakeland. I think Lake Orion will win that one. I think the Dragons will win that one.
There's no gimmies.
No.
In this.
And then you have Birmingham Marion and Novi. I'm calling it right now. I think there's going to be an upset. I think it'll be an upset.
Wow.
And then if regional final rematch here, I think it's going to be Lake Orion. No, I think it's going to be. I really like Novi in this regional because of the experience.
Yes.
The home court matters.
Home
court matters.
You brought up home court,
Mm-hmm.
and we've seen how teams using that home court can just flip an entire district. It can flip a regional. It can flip a whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Go back to Romeo.
Yeah.
Remember the odd way they set up the courts in
32
Romeo?
mile, yeah.
Right? And teams go in there and go, what is this? And it can throw you a little bit.
Absolutely can throw you off a little bit.
That was a rant of yours, I remember, several years
Mm-hmm.
ago.
Yeah, when Lake Orion went to Romeo
there and they
played.
were favored and they lost.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
home court matters.
It does. It truly, truly does.
It truly matters. I mean, obviously, that's something you got to really keep a close eye on.
Yeah.
I mean, people look at Birmingham Marion and, they came up. They beat Farm Till's Mercy. I've seen all the hype surrounding Birmingham Marion, possible repeats of state
Yeah.
champions, possible repeats,
Yeah.
you know. But I'm telling
So
you,
you're taking Novi in the upset.
I am taking Novi because of home court matters. Yes, they're very talented. They're very good. But I just think at the end of the day here, Birmingham, I just think that Novi, with that raucous crowd, is going to take that game over Birmingham Marion. I just think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't know if Birmingham Marion has ever dealt with a hostile, ruckus crowd, you know?
Yeah.
Farmington's Mercy doesn't count. But with Novi, it could very well
You know
happen.
that gym's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's
It's a big
packed.
gym.
Yeah.
It's a big gym.
So when do these games take place?
Tuesday and Thursday.
Okay. So we'll know next Monday,
We'll know next
what
Monday.
the setup is moving forward.
Right, for the final week of the season.
Awesome.
We got some breaking news to talk about here.
Absolutely.
We do.
It's been a while since we've had any.
Breaking news out of Berkeley. Berkeley's got a new coach. Cody Feltner has taken over the program. Feltner takes over the Bears program after a really interesting offseason, which saw Kirk Carolyn, their former coach at Berkeley, leave to be an assistant at Macomb Community College. Obviously, that is a huge story here. Cody Feltner, of course, he took over at Ferndale for one season, coaching their girls basketball program. Had some struggles, but now you look at, obviously, Feltner taking over the program, and it's a really late hire. So when you really look at it here, it's a really interesting situation. Confirmed on the MHA website. It's on my new blog across the OAA. Got a lot to talk about with this hire. Obviously with Berkeley.
Yeah.
Here's a team that, let's not forget, this is probably one of the most unique situations. Obviously, we know the coaching situations from, this past offseason. But Feltner's a really interesting hire because
They went outside.
they went outside the box. They were actually forced to. Berkeley.
Yeah.
After Carolyn left, they went with Ben Bancroft to take over the position, but there was an uproar within the community that made them start the whole process all over again.
Which you don't see
You
that
don't-
often,
no,
do you?
you don't really see that
You
that
kind of know
often.
who the successor is, either from the JV ranks or an assistant coach. It's been there a while, but yeah, this was kind of a funky situation and made them do it all over again.
Yeah,
and
made 'em do it all over again.
hopefully the planets align and everything works out okay for these guys because there's some quality players on that squad.
Well, especially when you
that
have
can
a
take 'em.
returning player in Ashley Loon. That's a huge, and I think Loon has really, she's been getting a lot of looks from colleges. I know that. But when I look at Berkeley, you're playing a murder's row of a non-conference schedule. You're playing a difficult schedule. You're playing, and then you're playing the likes of Macomb, Dakota. Obviously, it's not going to be an easy game. And then you're playing the likes of, and then, of course, you're going into league play. Obviously, you're playing against Lake Orion, Oxford, Troy Athens, Rochester, Adams, North Farmington, and Bloomfield Hills. That's not going to be an easy division for you.
No.
And then you have that district. You have Detroit Renaissance, Detroit Mumford, Royal Oak, and Oak Park. That's really, really difficult sledding. And especially for Feltner, who was hired so late.
So late. Tryouts are this week, right?
Tryouts start, today on this Monday. They start today for girls basketball. So.
Yeah, so it's not like they had all summer to have like a summer league game or team going and playing the offense and getting acclimated.
This is where there's some questions for Berkeley because last season program strength exactly killed them. Program strength really killed them, despite the fact they went to district final last year. But when you look at Berkeley this year, obviously, you don't know what's going to happen. Program strength is a complete mess over there. You don't know if players are going to play. You don't know if they're going to come back and play. Obviously, but then, of course, you also had that volleyball run that their volleyball team is going through. And I know several volleyball players on Berkeley also plays girls basketball. So you really look at this hire here, I mean, to have it so late in the game, it's really
It's
difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's going to be really difficult for them. I mean, obviously when you look at the coaching hires this offseason, obviously Joe Malberg at Adams, Aaron Goodnow at Clarkston, Darren McAllister at West Bloomfield. I mean, Allison Heidi at Groves, and then you look at those are some names you got to really keep a close eye on. Then, of course, you have the addition of Harper Woods into the OAA.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I forgot about that. Yeah, and that is, I mean, and they are coming in for this season.
Year, yeah, this season. I mean, like, obviously, and then of course you have new coaches at Pontiac and at Ferndale. We don't even know the head coach at Pontiac is yet.
Wow.
So, and they
didn't even field a team last year.
No, and neither did Ferndale. Ferndale's got a new coach in Alcatala who took over.
Wow.
So,
this is going to be an interesting season. And I know you're gonna share your top 10s and all that kind of stuff coming up
this weekend. Yes.
Okay.
So it'll be really interesting to see what happens.
Awesome.
It'll be really interesting to see what happens. So I will release that this weekend on the blog at in the Across the OA blog. I will put the blog up on my Twitter page. So it'll be something to keep a very close eye on.
So this is something I probably should have done in the roundup, the cross country results, right? But there's a lot to talk about, and I don't think the music would still be running if we went through some of these results. And we were talking about it. Sammy and I, as you guys know, we're big cross country and track fans, and and Sammy's good at getting out that information about who wins a title, who's doing what in the finals, right? So yeah, cross country is a little different. It's individual, yet it's a team sport, all that kind of stuff. So the OAA did pretty good on the men's and women's Division I side of things.
That they did.
And they run at MIS, Michigan International Speedway, and on a 5K course up there that if you've ever seen it, Sammy, you and I agree, it's not the greatest course, but it is what it is. So they competed last Saturday on the 6th, and let's go start with the guys' side of things, shall we? Just for general results, Brighton, a phenomenal distance crew. I believe this is their second state title in probably 3 years or 4 years. Takes the state title on the team side. But on the OAA side of things, the Lake Orion men, who we've talked about sporadically through the season. This is a football-heavy podcast.
Right.
But the Lake Orion men finished 9th. One of the best finishes they've had in a very, very long time. And this senior class really pulled through for Coach Stan Ford at Lake Orion. And loaded with seniors, have been running varsity all 4 years. And they scored 264 points, finishing 9th. So congratulations to the Dragons on the top 10 finish. Let me look for other OAA teams in here. And I see Royal Oak was 24th.
Royal Oak was a really interesting team this year. Really interesting.
Yeah, to get in, it's always good to get in. It's so many teams compete. 27 teams competing in this state final. And Troy. Troy was also in on the men's side of things, which is great for them. Yep. And they had a good regional, and they got in. They were 26 out of 27, but hey, man, you got to go, right? On the individual side of things, we have to give credit to, where are we at here? Lake Orion, Clayton Kuiper, I believe that's who their top finisher was for Lake Orion. I'm turning blind here all of a sudden. I can't read these things, but he was in the 30s. And actually, there he is, 48. My mistake. The senior, that's the top finisher for Lake Orion. I'm trying to find other OAA runners. I think he was the top OAA finisher on the men's side of things. I'm scrolling through here. So congratulations to Kuiper. And who else? Any other highlights from these guys? But again, Lake Orion, to say that they ran as a team was a complete understatement. They always finished in a pack, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 10, 11, 12, right? And it showed through for the top 10 finish. Now, on the women's side, a team we have not talked about in a number of years on the state level, the Oxford women. My word, were they on fire this year.
And people talk about Clarkston. People talk about, Lake Orion. People talk about
Clarkston
Troy.
had a mini dynasty there for a good 5-6 years. Seaholm, huge, multiple state titles, top 10 finishes. But the Oxford women are usually on the outside. They're fourth,
Right.
just missing that qualifying spot. But this Oxford squad, Sammy, is loaded with freshmen. 3 of their 5 top scoring 5 returners are all 9th graders. That's insane. It is nuts to have that sort of depth. So congratulations to the Oxford women, 8th overall in D1 state, which is awesome. They were just under 20 points away from Brighton, who was 7th. Romeo was 6th. Saline 5th. Northville 4th. Traverse City Central 3rd. Holland West Ottawa 2nd. Ann Arbor Pioneer 1st with 68 ridiculous points. But there's Oxford.
Yes.
Amongst some
Top
of the
10.
top teams
In the state.
year in, year out, multiple state title winners. Awesome. Way to go, Oxford Wildcat ladies. Troy was 25th, and Royal Oak was 28th.
Interesting.
So a good finish there. But we have to call attention to one specific 9th grader from Rochester High School, Lucy Cook, 6th overall. Out of all that, how many runners? 267.
That's a lot.
As a freshman, all-state, top 6. That is a name we're going to be watching. I mean, like Didamio over at Seaholm and some other these names, these legendary runners. I think Lucy Cook is one of those runners that has a chance to win a state title.
And she's only a freshman.
Only a freshman.
Wow. That says a lot.
Yeah, and running in the 17s.
That's
right?
insane.
Insane. So congratulations to all the runners. I know there was a Clarkston finisher in there I have to call attention to. Alexandra Brigham, she was 25th for the Wildcats. Nice job
Wolves,
there.
even?
Or for the Wolves, excuse me. But Mallory Bigelow, the 19th finisher, top 20, she's their top freshman runner and led the OAA all season.
Really?
She was phenomenal.
That's insane.
Phenomenal. So that's the cross-country results. The season has concluded.
Mm-hmm.
As a parent of a cross-country runner, I am happy for that.
Mm-hmm. Well, now
because it is a long slog. And the weather gods, we talked about the weather gods. Nice, dry, fast MIS course, not a mud bog like it's always been for the last 5-6 years.
Well, now they get to get ready for indoor track season, and then there's track season in
spring. Are we talking spring?
Yeah, but first we got to go through the winter. So that'll be
I
really
know,
different.
man. Do you want? We didn't do picks.
We didn't do picks. You
no,
know what I mean?
We're at 52, so we have time to have our last say on Adams versus
And
West Bloomfield.
Yep. Ooh, boy. You know, what can you say about this game? What can you say? Everything is written up. Everything is set up. Everything is ready to go for this game. It's going to be really interesting.
It better be on Bally's.
I'm hoping it's on Bally Sports Detroit. If it's not, I'd be really upset. I know the last few games I was a little upset with that, with their schedule.
The games they've picked, yeah.
The games they picked. I mean, obviously 2 weeks ago we had Chippewa Valley and Troy. That ended up being a disaster.
Yes.
Instead of and then
Clarkston Oxford.
Instead of Clarkston Oxford, or like and then 2 weeks we had A&T against River Rouge. I mean, instead of maybe Troy Bloomfield Hills, you know what I mean,
yeah.
something like that.
Someone's got to talk to their booker to say, hey, those aren't the classic games.
I think this game has to be on Bally Sports Detroit. If it's not, something's wrong. All
right, Sam.
Okay.
Put it down on paper.
I'm putting it down on paper right now. I think West Bloomfield gets the revenge on Adams.
I did not see that.
I think they're going to get the revenge because Dylan Tatum's going to have a big game against Adams' defense. They have a proven running back situation, Kenneth Jones. Raekwon Nance has improved as a quarterback. I think West Bloomfield defensively is going to do just enough against Xavier that I think it's going to be West Bloomfield that moves on to the regional finals to meet either Rockford or Grand Blanc.
You were such a Highlander fan, dude. Everything. Praise. But you think they get them. Do you think that when Adams had early in the season, they got the young quarterback early?
They got to Nance early, yes. They did.
And now, I mean, he's not a freshman anymore.
He's not a freshman anymore. He's seasoned. He's not a sophomore anymore. I mean,
or sophomore anymore. Yeah.
He's seasoned. You know what I mean?
So, okay.
He's seasoned.
So West Bloomfield, you got to score.
I got
these games are tough to
They're
pick.
They're tough to pick, but I think it's gonna be 28-24.
Ooh.
West Bloomfield
Okay.
over Adams.
And you've been pretty close on these. If it's a blowout, you usually call it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what do we got? 55. Makes me make up my mind quicker. When I saw Adams rolled over Oxford, I'm like, okay, it's what they say, recency bias. Where it's like, whoa, you get all high because you're like, yeah, man, that what a win, and they're rolling. And then you hear it's West Bloomfield, you go, okay.
Now you got a game.
This is a game. This is different. You know each other. You know your opponent. You have all this time to fix what went wrong in game one. And it was a close game in game one. I mean, it wasn't like 3 points or anything, but game one when they played, it was manageable. It wasn't some crazy blowout, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think you're right. I think West Bloomfield gets it done.
Championship experience?
Championship experience. The talent is so good that I think those guys are so good at the skill positions that they can nullify that.
Severe.
Yeah.
And it'll be very interesting because it's in front of the Gold Rush.
Yes. I mean, if anything, that's why that crowd and the hype around it and having that home field, that's at least 7 points in the high school game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're right. I think it's going to be within 7 points or under. So, yeah, I think the Lakers get it done.
You think they're going to either meet Rockford or Grand Blanc?
Ooh. I think Rockford.
You think you'll meet Rockford?
Yeah.
It's at Rockford. Yeah, I think it's going to be Rockford as well. Now, it'll likely be at a neutral site because, traditionally that's what it's always been. So I think it's going to be...
we don't know that. I guess we didn't look that up, but either like Okemos or East Lansing. We've seen
East Lansing,
we've seen games there where these guys, from the East-West come together. That's usually where they meet up.
Usually that's where they usually meet up.
Yeah.
And I think, especially with the OA schools having to go more west, instead of more north and west.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be the one that's going to be the other side of things going forward there.
Yeah, but what a game. I can't wait.
That's going to be
I'm excited for the fan base.
Both fan bases.
Absolutely. A friend of mine, his son is a offensive and defensive lineman on the JV squad. Mm-hmm. And we heard that those guys are taking part in all the workouts, helping get the varsity guys ready to go. He'll be in uniform on the sideline. And
I think that's important.
How exciting is that?
That's important, I think, also, because when you are a JV player, to have those extra practices, to work with the varsity, it's really important. You know what I mean? To have...
Well, it's reps, but also to see the atmosphere. Get used to, hey, this means something.
This means something.
And you're out there working as a team. It shows you that it's more than just one person or two. It's the whole JV squad. It is the varsity squad.
It's gonna be
awesome.
It's gonna be really interesting to see what happens there in that game, obviously.
Yep.
So
awesome.
We're gonna keep an eye on it here. We're gonna watch games very carefully. So I wish everybody the best of luck this year with trying out for girls basketball this year. At tryouts for today. Keep an eye on that. Release my girls basketball projections this weekend. So we'll see what happens going forward. Okay, now everybody, I'm signing off here. I'm Sammy Taormina here. Take care. God bless, and see you all next week, everybody.
See you, Sam. OAA Now is produced by Sammy Taormina. The views on this show are his and mine alone. Get out there and get a ticket for this Adams versus West Bloomfield matchup. Are you kidding me? This could be one for the ages. That's it for this edition of OAA Now. Beautiful day. Get outside, have some fun. Get some of that vitamin D. We'll see you next week. See ya.